to bring the town board meeting Thursday, September 26, 2013 to order.
I'll second.
We'll salute the flag. All salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence for the military serving this country, in this country and out of this country. Thank you. The emergency exits are on your right, your left, I should say, our right. Roll call, do we need roll call?
Councilwoman Rhodey?
Here.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Here.
Supervisor Flood?
Here. Public comments? Do we have anybody?
Councilwoman
We have to
Doyle?
open the public hearing.
What?
Public
We don't have a
hearing.
public hearing.
It's CDBG.
CDBH.
Yep.
It's just not on the agenda, but it was advertised properly, it was published in the paper. It just did not get on the agenda. We do have a public hearing. There are no public comments. No one has signed up for public comment.
All right, so we have to do the public,
Just open it up. You need to open it up.
Yeah, we need to open the
Make a
public
motion to
hearing.
open.
I make a motion to open a public hearing for the,
Community Development Block Grant.
Second.
Councilwoman Rhodey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Flood?
yes.
Let it be noted that there's no public individuals who have signed up, but perhaps there's somebody in the audience.
No.
We're
That's
doing
for
the public hearing right now.
Yeah. On the CV, there's nobody
These are
that's,
for ideas for the
Signed
Community
up.
Development Block Grant.
just so you know, nobody signed up.
We did talk, I did meet with the architect and Mike a few weeks ago. We walked around about doing the handicap accessibility to the town hall, the parking, the sidewalks need to be replaced, the doors fixed, so that we can become more handicapped accessible. And he felt it would take the 100,000.
Sounds
So if that's something we could do, it's up to the board.
The only suggestion I had was one of the consolidated plan priorities is repair of existing or construction of new sidewalks and crosswalk infrastructure within centers, and also sidewalk improvements and handicap accessible crosswalks and curbs that reinforce pedestrian connections. The sidewalk on Route 44 is in very bad shape. We've had to have the highway department pave part of it just to meet safety regulations. We did get a letter from an attorney on it. The sidewalk in front of the post office has been a problem for years. That has some paving material on it as a stopgap measure. And so that I was thinking that this would be an opportunity to fix the sidewalks, as long as, besides the fact that, you know, we want Amenia to be a walkable community, I think we need to address the safety of our sidewalks.
But how much is it going to cost to fix them? I know I talked to Stanley about 44. He said, and you got to go all the way from basically, I'm just going to say from the garage, but it's not that, from the, it's a little bit less, a little bit east of the service station, correct? I forget who
Yes.
was there. But then all the way to the ballpark. So,
Well, there isn't a sidewalk right now to the ballpark.
No.
It goes across from
but that's
Pages.
got to be done at some point. You're going to have a sidewalk to that ball field, to those parks. Those kids aren't really walking on the street. So I think it's probably more money to do that than what this is going to be. But
Well,
this
it's
is
Well, the handy-
$200,000 to do Mechanic Street, so that was that short stretch. It is expensive because you have to do all the right-of-way, and it's just expensive to put in sidewalks.
Is there another grant that you can apply for that sidewalk on 44? It's not just 44. I know the county, they did one in Red Hook. Red Hook, I think they got. We tried.
Red Hook got a grant.
They
for
got
that.
the grant from the county.
Yeah, I think we'd have to match it, you know, $100,000. If it's a $200,000 project, we just have to come up with the cash ourselves. Certainly better than nothing. If that's a priority, if that's a safety concern in our downtown, I mean, I think the handicapped accessibility is also an issue. We've got crumbling
Here, yeah.
infrastructure here and a lot of intended use here, so I think both projects. The problem is the deadline is October, mid-October. So we'd have to
18th,
get
isn't
a
it?
big estimate going and, you know, I mean, we'd have to do a lot of work to get that sidewalk estimate done, I would think.
Well, we would have to have an engineer look at it.
Yeah, you're
Take a
talking
look at it.
engineers, the whole 9 yards, so I don't know. I know
Peter's already working on it.
Peter's working on this.
Oh, he is? For the town hall?
You know, some kind of a guesstimate, enough to get an application in, right?
Well, they're both very good projects. They both are eligible because they would benefit low to moderate income people, which is the main criteria for the CDBG grants. But it does seem like the handicapped accessibility might be a little bit more of a priority. If you look at the history of what Dutchess County has funded, they've funded handicapped accessibility projects in LaGrange and Pleasant Valley, in the town of Washington. So it does seem to be still a priority. And just, you know, we have already done the walkthrough, but both would, you know, have to do a little bit more legwork, I guess, on the sidewalk. They both are good projects. But it does seem as, you know, Peter Karras has looked at it. He thought it would be a good project. He was going to come up with some preliminary numbers if you wanted to go that way. You would just have to pass a resolution either way stating which application you would like to pursue.
Well, for the existing sidewalks in town, we are able to do the repairs. I mean, they're not pretty, but
It's not a safety
it's
issue
not
now?
a safety issue because the highway department has been able to give us good repairs on the existing infrastructure. So I would think that if we could build our infrastructure out, keep looking, of course, for, you know, repair monies, but if we could increase our handicapped access, I think it's
Yeah.
important.
Is that one of the reasons we're not a polling center for the elections, or is that handicapped accessibility, wasn't that one of the issues they brought up, or?
I believe it
I
was.
think part of it, and I think the parking lot was too far away. I think that's what it was.
Well, I think, you know, the fact is, did we apply? But we did not win because we didn't own the building. That was their only, in the past, we did apply for handicapped accessibility, but we were turned down only because we didn't own the property at the time. Do you remember?
I think that was one of the reasons. It was also a different county executive, different priorities that year.
Well, the only other thing that really keeps in the back of my mind is we have to build a highway garage. We're not quite ready to do that. That project isn't ready. But the other thing that's bothering me is that we know we have infrastructure in our water lines that need to be improved. We don't have a plan for that. We aren't in a position to ask for that. But I think that we have to, in the future, start planning ahead of time what our infrastructure needs are from highest to lowest. And if it means going ahead and paying $15,000, $20,000, something for an engineering assessment, some capital improvement plan for the water district that makes sense, you know, we can then be in a position to ask for a segment of it. You had mentioned that we need $100,000 a year to bring one by one our water district up to speed. We do have money in our capital reserve fund to start planning that out. We don't want to be caught flat-footed with 1 month to prepare an application for CDBG funds without a good project in the pipeline ready to go that we know the community needs. But I do think the handicapped accessibility is something that's been red flagged before. We know we need it. Probably we're not, you know, as accessible as we should be. Yeah, and we should set a good example for that. I don't know, the other thing is we need heating and cooling, but I don't think that's an eligible activity, right?
No.
Yeah.
That's
So-
something the town is expected to take care of.
Yeah, it has priorities in the grant application.
Yeah, so, I don't know, I
Do we need a
welcome
resolution tonight?
tonight, is that right? The September meeting?
Well, or before the application, I mean, technically we'd be considering ideas tonight at the hearing. And you could pass a motion saying which project you would like to pursue, and if you would like to pass a formal resolution, you can prepare that too. You know, they recommend, really just has to state the project.
Do you have a sample? Do you have the resolution?
I don't have one with me tonight, but.
Okay, because we'll have to wait and do that.
We do have a meeting on the 10th of October, and it's due on, the application's due on the 18th, so is that enough time, 1 week, to pass a resolution stating which?
Yes.
Well, yes, because I have
Yes.
the application ready after that meeting too, but that could just be.
Even meeting
Yeah,
on
he
the
can have the
1st.
grant ready, and then we
But you
can
want to
just
give
do
them
the
an idea, is
resolution.
Oh,
it
yeah.
the town hall
Yeah,
or
yeah.
is it the sidewalk? I'm in favor of the town hall, so that's,
I'll make a motion that we prepare a resolution for the CDBG grant for improvements to the town hall handicapped access.
I guess I'll second that.
Councilwoman Brody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
yes. Okay, now we go to public comments, right? Or we
We
gotta
need to
make a
close.
motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
Councilwoman Brody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle? And
Yes.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
And opening the regular meeting?
I'll make a motion that we open our regular meeting.
Should wait for only one.
Okay, public comments?
I have a motion on the table, Supervisor
Oh.
Flood. Do you want to second it?
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Brody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle? And
Yes.
Supervisor Flood? And we have Tom Warner and Sharon Kroger for public comments.
I'm a delegate of one that people have come to me and asked what the opposition to the, I believe it's Millerton project. They would like assurance and a letter from the attorney that the town will not be liable for any action to do with the Hannafordson project.
The what project?
Hannaford,
Hannaford. Oh.
at Article 78, it's filed on behalf of the town.
It was never filed because
Well, that's the town of Northeast.
right.
Correct. But we were listed in,
Well, you're not listed as a party. I think the group is called the 10 Towns, and it does include Amenia, but it's a geographic reference. It doesn't refer to the town as a governing body. So I think I had sent the board members copies of the caption, and it just, the proceeding itself doesn't involve the town of Amenia in any way. So,
we can't be held liable.
no, I mean, there's no,
Should they lose the case, we wouldn't be held liable.
no.
That's what everybody's concerned with.
The town of Amenia is not a party, it has no interest in this other than, the residents may be affected by the, having a supermarket there or not having it there. But as far as the town of Amenia itself, it has no impact. There's, town's rights are not going to be affected at all.
All right, I just wanted it known that we were not going to be, you've expressed this once before at the meeting, but evidently the people weren't grasping it.
The town is not a party, and there's no way to get any to have the town's rights affected in any way when the town's not a party to the action or the
Okay,
proceeding.
thank you. That's, now that you've mentioned it, everybody will know the case.
We've talked about it in the past.
I'm sorry,
We did it in the past, not too long ago. We discussed it.
a couple of meetings ago it was discussed
Mhm.
also.
Yeah.
And also, this is something personal, but would you discontinue the flashcards?
The PSA announcements?
I'm sorry,
You're referring to the PSA announcements that I put up?
whatever they are.
You would like them to stop?
Yeah.
Thank you for your input.
Come up and make it, you know, a proper presentation if you want, but not. It's like I used to do the kids for school with the flashcards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Werner.
Sharon?
I'm Sharon Kroger. I'm following up on this concern about the water bill. I did get some, now this has to do with a new section that you're considering putting into the town law. I did talk to Norm Benson. He felt that, among other things, there was no appeals process, so that there could be hardship on the part of homeowners. And he thought that in most cases, there's some type of appeals process within the law, so that he did raise that issue. He also agreed with me on my concern that the definitions of the Amenia Water Company or the Amenia Water Supply could be viewed as misleading, because there are so many different water supplies within the town of Amenia, and there will be more, so that to refer to it in the singular as though there was only one is problematic. It could be confusing to people, so that it really needs to be rewritten definitionally. We're talking about the specific water company with the 4 wells on top of Depot Hill, and I think that there can be language in there that is more specific, so that there couldn't be confusion with other water supplies that may exist or become more the concern of the town at a later time. So that was my concern. Scott Chase seemed to focus more on the different types of technical situations where the check valves could be necessary, and he was describing how secondary water supplies affect primary water supplies when you've got industrial situations and when you have more complicated residence situations, which of course were things that some of us never thought of because it's too technical. We don't understand it that well. I think that because there's enough consternation, and because we haven't even done a comparative analysis of what other towns are doing, that it might be well to have a committee that just works on this for a week or two and then comes back with a specific report of possible language change, so that you don't have to think about it in the abstract, but you could get something in front of you that would be more specific to say yay or nay. I would think that if you set up a work group that involved whatever volunteers from the town, citizens, and plus a couple of people from the committee, the specific advisory committee that works with that water company, and we could maybe call in a couple of technical experts to question them, and that we might get a lot done quickly if we were to attempt it with that methodology. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Cheryl Morse, resident, Town of Amenia. I'm just a little confused by this conversation that Ms. Kroger is having, is she talking about the backflow prevention that they're requiring the businesses to implement here in the village in this part of the water district? Or is there some sort of program that we're unaware of that's going to be implemented in another area? Because I thought that resolution and what was being put together only affects businesses on the public water supply to prevent cross-contamination to residences here in the village, instead of, you know, other private residences around town, because it's my understanding, based on what we've heard before, that it only covers the commercial businesses. Individual residents do not have to put the backflow prevention at their homes. So I'd like some clarification on that, because it seems like, and pardon the pun, it's muddying the waters if she's talking about two different things.
Do you want to discuss the resolution itself?
We're not doing the resolution tonight.
No, I know, but.
Yeah.
But I think the board, there are two separate issues, correct?
Well, I mean, to answer your question, the law would apply to all properties, but there are only certain ones that require the backflow preventers. Not all properties within the district need to have the backflow prevention valves. It may be that the ones in the district that require it are only commercial properties. I'm not sure Marco would know the answer to that. But
Well, that's why I think
No, it's
people
not.
are confused about what's going on. I mean, I understand the concept because as a landscaper and big landscape construction projects that I've done in the past, when we have irrigation systems, we have to install backflow prevention so that, you know, private wells at a residence don't get contaminated by chemicals or whatever. So I clearly understand the concept of that, but I think a lot of people out here in the community don't understand. I understand it's also a health department statewide mandate. It's not something that the town is implementing, but we are required as a municipality to put this kind of regulation in place just for public safety. So I think that's where there's some confusion, and that maybe we can clarify it in some manner so that, you know, people in town who don't really understand it can have a more clear understanding of what the impact is, what they're going to be required or not required to do. Thank you.
Well, that's why we're going to have a water committee meeting here, October 9th, at what, 5 p.m.?
And really what a lot of the things that Sharon is speaking about is the verbiage in the proposed local law. That's what she's been addressing, is that verbiage in the local law.
Well, is what's going to be written in the local law any different from what the state mandate is?
no.
No.
Okay, well then,
The
But it
exact
has-
verbiage in the local law includes the Department of Health regulation as part of the verbiage, but there is additional verbiage within the local law that pertains directly to Amenia.
What the local law does is it's consistent with the requirements in the State Department of Health regulations, but the proposed local law contains additional language that allows the town to enforce those regulations. So there's provision for fines if you're in violation.
okay. And I mean, I think it would make more common sense for someone, if they're required to do this, to put it in rather than contaminate and then be fined and charged.
They're already required to put it in because of the Department of Health.
Right, but
regulation.
not every
But
resident.
they have not been done.
Well, but I guess the problem is, not every resident
It's not
has
resident.
to do it. Right, it's commercial businesses and
No.
industrial businesses, is that, I mean,
I think
that I think,
anyone where there's any property where there's a potential cross-contamination.
Okay, well then that makes more sense. So not everybody has to do it, and I think that's part of the confusion, is that people are thinking everybody has to do it.
Which
So
is why
thank
we're
you.
doing more community outreach to get the information out
Perfect.
there and
Right.
clarify all of these matters.
And
Right,
on
thanks.
October 9th, the Water Committee meeting will be here at the Town Hall, so if anyone has any questions about cross-contamination, they're welcome to come.
I've written it down as 5:30. Is it
5:30, yeah.
5:30?
Okay,
5:30,
5:30 is, I believe, the correct time.
Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Monty LaRobadier. I'm a town of Amenia resident. I came before the board about a month ago. I think it was August 22nd, with a situation. I wrote you letters explaining I have a problem with my neighbor has a health SDS, a sewage disposal system that is on town property. And I have some maps that I will give you. And I also asked if you could respond to me, a written response, letting me know what the town board feels and what you will or will not address. I haven't heard anything from anybody. Anyway, I have some maps which may clarify it for you. I made copies, and I'll read a little note into the minutes. The Town of Amenia Town Board, regarding the Boyd, which is my neighbors, the Boyd property owners using Town of Amenia land for sewage disposal systems serving 2 dwellings without proper Board of Health approval. Enclosed, please find copies of a condensed version of my approved subdivision map, which was filed on September 17, 2007. The Boyd's attorney, Mr. Alan Rapplier, sent this map to my attorney, Dennis Johnson, on April 24, 2013. I have color-coded the property lines to avoid confusion. The intent of Mr. Rappelier's letter was to indicate where his clients felt it was all right for me to place my access road to my property in order to avoid damaging their septic system, which is illegally placed on the Town of Amenia property. Now, there's brown markings on the map, which I'll give you, that have been drawn by the Boyds to indicate a septic tank and leach fields, all of which are on town property. So I again ask the town board not to allow this continued gross misuse of town property by granting a certificate of occupancy to the Boyds. And here are the maps. I think I have 5 copies.
To answer your question, we are going to get back to you. Ian's been away on vacation,
Okay.
and that's part of it.
That's fine
So
with me.
we haven't forgot you.
All right.
We're going to deal with it.
Music to my ears. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The board did ask me to respond. To be honest with you, from what I've seen, I don't see any proof that the town owns this land that's in question. So I can respond, and I think probably what I'll do is send a draft letter to the board before I send it out. But I didn't see any evidence to show, and it's a fairly complicated issue, whether or not the town owns this property. He did provide some information suggesting that a portion of Route 22, or the right-of-way for the State Highway Route 22, was abandoned by the state to be maintained by the town. But I don't see any evidence. Well, it's difficult from the information, or impossible from the information that he provided, to determine whether the area that was abandoned is the area that he's referring to. You really need a surveyor to be able to tell that. So it's really impossible to determine from what the information that he's provided whether the town owns this property. As far as I know, the town is not aware that it owns the property. And even if it does, there's a question of, whether it wants to get involved in what is essentially a neighbor dispute. I'll look into it more and report back to the board, and I can send
In the
out-
past, there was a subdivision done by Lil Paynes that owned a lot of the property that abuts this road, the 22. It never came up that the town of Amenia owned it. So that if you drive by there, you'll see where there's an old road bed that goes behind the trees. And there's 1, 2, 3, I think there's 5 or 6 lots that are now off of that thing. So that's something you should just take a look at also, because that was all surveyed and done. So. Good.
In reference to that,
He needs to
No,
step.
you have to get up to the podium.
in order for him to get the right of way where he wants to put the highway, his entrance in, would be from the state, and they'll never get it there. It's across from the VFW, and you couldn't put an entrance there because of the sight line,
It's not across from, it's north of that.
is it? Well, when that Fitton was doing it, he couldn't get any approval from the state for that, for a right of way at all.
Okay. Town clerk's report?
All I have this evening to report is a reminder that if you have a dog, it needs to be licensed. Stop into the town clerk's office. Patty and or myself will be glad to assist you. And we've been busy with the doe permits, and just remind all of our hunters out there that in order to obtain the DMP permit, you need to stop into the office prior to October 1st, and bow season begins on November 16th. Oh, that's your gun, I'm sorry, your bow begins on October 1st. So you need to come in right away if you want to get that doe permit. It seems to be very popular right now. That's all I have.
Okay.
Nothing.
The next on the agenda is, we had authorized the contract to sand the floors upstairs, which was never done. The floor sanding company never showed up. So there's a resolution to rescind canceling the contract. So that's resolution number
63.
of 2013. At the regular meeting of the town board of the town of Amenia, held at the Amenia Town Hall on 26th day of September 2013 at 7 p.m. Town Supervisor William Flood called the meeting to order. And somebody want a second?
I'll second it.
Vicki Doyle, seconded by Vicki Doyle, introduced the following resolution. Whereas after properly advertising for bids, the town board awarded the contract for sanding floors in the town hall building to Scott Beatty as the lowest responsible bidder in or about March of 2013. Whereas after awarding the contract to Scott Beatty, the town board promptly sent notice informing him that he had been awarded the contract and requested he commence work promptly. Whereas Mr. Beatty has failed to commence the floor sanding work according to contract, has further failed to respond to the town's repeated attempts to contact him and inquire about his intention to commence work on the contract. And whereas the town board has determined that it is in the best interest of the town to rescind or cancel the contract with Scott Beatty and to re-advertise the bids for the floor sanding work at the town hall. Now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the rescission and cancellation of contract with Scott Beatty due to his failure to respond to the town's notice of award of the contract and or to perform the work required under the contract, and be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes and directs the empowers the town supervisor to sign and send a letter to Scott Biotti rescinding and canceling the contract in a form to be approved by the town, by the attorney of the town. And be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the re-advertisement for bids for the sanding of the floors in the town hall building according to the same specifications contained in the original advertisement for bids. Now therefore be further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. The foregoing resolution that was voted upon with all councilmen voting as follows.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Prody?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Rosales.
That's 64.
64.
Do you want to rebid the floors?
So
Does she want to do something?
64, resolution 64. Oh, yeah, you moved that.
So I need authorization from the board, a motion to send the specifications out to the floors, to sand the floors and stop the second floor, 4 rooms, each is approximately 22 by 29, 2 with carpeting, 2 bare wood. Scope of work, remove the carpeting and rug glue in 2 rooms and dispose of. Sand and finish all wood floors in the 4 rooms, complete with 3 coats of polyurethane. Insurance required, liability, workers' compensation. Bid needs to be figured at prevailing wage.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Pass that to Dawn, please, so she can.
Just authorizing the town clerk to make that set advertisement. Councilwoman Prody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Next is the bidding of the snow removal for sidewalks in the Amenia Wasake locations. I need a motion to send this out to bid.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Prody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle? And
Yes.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Request for use of the Amenia Hall facilities by the Hudson River Housing, Lauren McLaughlin, for the Town Board of Planning Board room for financial fitness. Course will be offered to residents.
What's the date?
Saturday, 10/5,
That
8:45 to 12:30 p.m.
12:30 to 8:30?
Yeah. I need a motion to authorize that.
Have we decided who's going to let them in and out? This is a one-time event, or?
One time.
Hmm. 12:30 to 8:30 p.m.
No, 8:45 a.m. to 12:30 p.m.
Oh. That's different.
We can get somebody out of there.
Isn't John already working?
John's usually here by then, and there's a knit and spin, ends at noon. I can stick around a little bit later and lock up.
Okay.
So you got a motion? I'll make the motion that we authorize and waive the fee for Hudson River Housing to conduct a workshop at the town hall on October 5th.
Financial fitness.
I'll second.
Financial fitness.
Financial fitness.
Councilwoman Prody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Next resolution is establishing an informational technology mobile device acceptance use policy for the town of Amenia to provide consistent security information technology systems. I'm not reading this whole thing. Sorry.
I
Jen?
typed it.
You typed
could
it.
read.
I'm not doing it. Can I have a motion to accept? You want to read this thing, this whole thing?
Maybe she could summarize it.
The mobile device. This is the one that says it lays out the standards, procedures, and restrictions for end users who have legitimate business requirements to access town data from a mobile device connected to a non-town network, which means that I can use my personal iPhone to get my town email on. Or I could remote into the town systems from home, or Mike could remote in and update the town television station from home. And it just lays out the security process required to do that by the comptroller's office in detail.
Now, in a practical method, what is, as town board members, committee members, it's all laid out here, what we need to
What you need to do,
to-
what the risks are, you know, what the threats we are addressing, which is mostly loss or theft of financial and personal and confidential information, loss of taxpayer information and things like that. We really want to make sure that everyone who gives the town information, that information is secure as best as we can. And it directs people to the town board if they have questions or problems with it. And it also directs violators to the town board for us to help them through it and make them come into compliance.
I'll make a motion, we resolution number
65.
65. Give me a second.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Reamer is absent. And Supervisor Flynn?
Yes. Resolution number 66, resolution establishing an informational, the same?
No, this is the removable media.
Okay, same, all right, resolution establishing information technology, removable media acceptable use policy for the town of Amenia to provide consistency and security to information technology systems, and I'll let Gretchen explain what this one is.
This one is if you have a memory stick or, you know, a flash drive, a thumb drive, or a CD or something, and you copy town data onto it, that memory stick should be secure. It should be dealt with physically securely as well as software-wise securely, so that any town data that you put onto that stick is not susceptible to being stolen or corrupted. And that if you take any memory stick and you hook it into this town systems, that you're not doing any damage to the town systems.
Make a motion to accept it?
Second.
This is making us compliant with the state of New York.
Yeah, this finishes page 1 of the policy requirements. I'm on to page 2.
Thank
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Other matters? What is this? This is for the water?
Last town business workshop meeting, we spoke a bit about the community outreach and how we thought it was, as was brought up during public comment today, important to do community outreach for the water backflow program. So what I did was I printed out New York City's community outreach. I mean, they obviously spend a lot of money on it, so I thought maybe we can use some of it for ours. But they have, you know, very simple, basic overviews of what's going on with a really simple form of how to get an exemption. Then I also included a copy of their webpage that shows all of the community outreach programs that they have for the water system, which helps them let people in the community understand what's going on from everything from billing to repairs to their policies. And then finally, in the bigger group of paper, there's a basic flow chart of what people could do to determine whether or not this particular program applied to them, which is what I was really referencing last week. So I promised I'd bring it in for everybody to take a look at, and I hope you do take the time to look it over or go to the website and check it out in color, because it's really, I think it's really put together well, and it's something that we may be able to use part of in our implementation of a local law for backflow. So that's what that was about.
Okay, so you're going to discuss that in October?
I'm offering it for discussion at the October 9th meeting, yeah.
Good.
And that's why I gave everybody a copy.
Some other homework we have to do. We have Anthony Robert, who's applied for the Board of Assessment Review, who's been on it for
2 terms.
2 terms.
We've advertised and no one else came
I'd
forward.
like to make a motion to accept Anthony Robert for the Board of Assessment Review
A second?
for a term of, what's it? Doesn't say.
Maybe 5 years.
Is it a 5-year term?
5-year term.
I've never met the man.
We'll get your haircut at the barbershop.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Transfer of funds. Resolution number, what, 67? 68?
67, I think.
Where the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary and anticipated to amend the budget, and whereas the town budget line 73104.1.95 youth programs, Connie Mack requires an increase in the amount of $145 for the purpose of additional umpire fees, and town board line 73104.1.98 youth programs, CE Little League requires an increase in the amount of $33.90 for the purpose of medals from the Crown Trophy, and whereas the town budget line 73104.1.97 youth programs, Union Farm requires a decrease in the amount of $178.90, and whereas the town budget line 80201.1.00 Planning Board Personal Services requires an increase in the amount of $1,316.30 for the personal services for Susan Metcalf, and whereas the town budget line 19004.1.46 special items GE contingencies requires a decrease in the amount of $1,316.30, and whereas the town budget line 13304.1.78 tax collector CE training requires an increase in the amount of $119.54 for the purpose of mileage reimbursement, whereas the town budget line 13302.1.00 tax collector requires a decrease in the amount of $119.52, and whereas the town budget line 83104.6.00 administration CE requires an increase in the amount of $3,559.61 for the purpose of attorney's fees, and whereas the town budget line 83404.6.00 transmission distribution CE requires a decrease in the amount of $3,559.61, and whereas the town budget line 2089.1.00 other cultural and recreation received 2,000 grant monies from the Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation for the youth dance program, and whereas the town budget line 71504.1.32 special recreation facilities instructor requires an increase in the amount of $2,000, and whereas the town budget line 81604.1.00 refuge garbage requires an increase in the amount of $144 for the purpose of refunding Royal Carding Company for 36 tickets at $4 per ticket, whereas the town budget line 19004.149 requires, for special items contingencies requires a decrease in the amount of $144, and whereas the town budget line 71454.1.31 Intercommunity rec, transportation requires an increase in the amount of $332.21 for transportation summer rec, and whereas the town budget line 71454.1 intercommunity rec CE trips requires a decrease in the amount of $332.21. And now therefore we resolve that the town board authorize the transfer of necessary budget lines to process the transaction. I need a motion to accept the transfer resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Roll call.
Who's going to second that
Oh,
motion?
a second.
Second. Councilwoman Prody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes. We do have a employee, Chase Harrison, John actually, who is a student worker from Maplebrook School, who we have used, would like to work upstairs. Actually, I have him working upstairs. He's a student worker for up to 16 hours a week at $10 an hour. He helps with the computer work, so on and so forth. He'll be here till June 1st. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention to make sure that we're okay with that. He's a nice young man that's working here.
He's the fellow who was, needed some working
Correct.
experience?
He goes to Dutchess for a couple of days a week,
Okay.
and then he lives at Maplebrook School, but he's graduated from the school, and he's going back to home in June. He's from, I think, South Carolina, North Carolina, somewhere like that. Nice young man.
I have to find him some fun things to do.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
How many days a week is he coming?
2.
2 days. Okay. Does he do minutes? Sorry.
Supervisor report, I have nothing to report tonight, so town board comments.
We have a boiler cleaning estimate from John Scott for materials, $150, and labor, $1,150. That will clean the boiler that we're currently using. And yeah, I also asked him about the other boiler, and he said in order for the actual cost to decommission the other boiler that is that we're not using at all would be $1,800, and that includes parts. The steam side is a labor-intensive expense. The boiler inspector's report on file explains the failure of the boiler leaking at the mud drum headers. The header itself is scary. This has to be repaired or taken out of service according to the inspector. The cost of repair is not worth it unless you continue to use these boilers for the next 15 years. The bottom line from the Hartford boiler inspector was to disconnect all of the lines to the boiler so as to not possibly use it. And that particular boiler was red tagged by the boiler inspector. So the cost of decommissioning the boiler that is not working and removing the water, the oil, and the electricity that is currently going from the boiler we're not using to the boiler we are using. So to just disconnect those things would be $1,800.
But not to take it apart.
No, no, just to remove the parts that are attached to a working
Take it off the
boiler.
system.
Yeah.
Do we need to get 3 bids for this?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get 3 bids.
So do we send it out to bid?
Well, I think we can just
Call a couple of
advertise.
companies.
Call a couple companies and,
Can Mary do that?
Yep.
Great.
or John is the one who's worked on it the most, but we need to do something to at least clean the working boiler.
Well, Mr. Scott put in a bid, so we'll just go with the bid process.
Any other comments from the board?
Well, we have our dance program beginning on October 5th on Saturday, and we have flyers out to all the students at the Webutuck School District if you guys want to pass those down. And the time frame is flexible, and we'd encourage anybody who is interested in dancing to come on Saturday, October 5th, and express some interest, and we'll make for sure, divvy up the classes as they need to be. So there's a tentative time frame of 11:30 to 1 o'clock would be 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grades, 12:30 to 2, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and 2 to 3 would be a special teen class, and it may be possible to add other age groups in and, work it out according to a schedule. So come on Saturday the 5th and see which group you might be able to fit into, and I would encourage, like I said, all ages. If you'd like to dance, we'll probably find a way of getting you in there. The final performance is expected to be at the Amenia Holiday of Lights on Sunday, December 14th, 2013. 9 lessons with a very good teacher, and all aspects of dance are available, but her specialty is ballroom, waltz, foxtrot, tango, you name it. If you want to dance, this is your chance. So Saturdays at Amenia Town Hall.
In the gymnasium?
It'll be in the classroom upstairs, the available one, but when you come in, there'll be signs directing you to where you need to go. I think also we're having a CAC meeting on Monday the 30th at 7 o'clock. And we are soliciting some input for our next enhancement committee meeting in October, which would be to talk about our Holiday of Lights and start that planning process. It's typically the 3rd Wednesday, but we'll work with the library and all the other groups. Hopefully you'll be available. The fire company, Marco helped with the bonfire. There are a lot of different groups that need to help us out to make that happen. So even if you aren't affiliated officially with a group, come and help us do one aspect of it, because there's a lot of, just basic contacting and organizing. We need trees and decorations and lots of things. Anybody could take on a tiny aspect of it. We need lots and lots of help. So we'll post that on the website and on the Channel 22 as soon as we get our date firmed up. But mid-October, we'll be meeting. That's it.
Is that all you have? Okay.
Did you have something else,
Yeah, I
Victoria?
did.
Go ahead.
Well, I thought we needed to do a more current resolution for the standard workday and reporting, because we never did pass the resolution.
Yeah,
This one is July of 2013. Dawn has done her studies, her 3 months.
we asked for that, I think, 3 times now to be passed.
Yeah, but she needs to have this before, because you need the standard workday to do the formula for it.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll need to have a more current resolution so that we can pass it and kind of move this forward, maybe for next meeting.
Ian, can you redraft it?
I'm not sure. Probably why do you need to this was done in July?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. I thought we had recently done this.
No, we haven't. We don't have it on record,
Okay.
and we need to do it.
Okay.
And the other thing I have is that we received a letter from the Office of the State Comptroller, the Division of Local Government and School Accountability. The Office of State Comptroller has initiated an audit of the town of Amenia. The audit will focus on the evaluation of internal controls. Our audit will cover the last completed fiscal year and up to the start of the audit. At the conclusion of our audit, we will report on the audit's results and provide recommendations to help improve your town's operations. As a member of the town council, you will have a role in monitoring any corrective actions that need to be taken as a result of this audit. Therefore, please feel free to ask questions about the audit and about the audit's progress at any time during the audit engagement. Our audit staff will also be available to meet at any time during the audit. I spoke to the chief examiner today, and they said they'll be here probably within the next 2 weeks, but they'll be calling in advance to let us know when they'll be here.
I also gave them a call the day we got the letter to make sure that we could continue to go forward with the IT review and audit process ourselves. And they said that it wasn't a problem. We could keep going with it, and that's why I had this stuff ready for today.
Well, that's good.
Good.
And also, the 12th Annual Indian Rock Schoolhouse Picnic is scheduled for Saturday, September 28th from 10 to 3 at 25 Margate Road. The event will feature a variety of activities for guests of all ages, including music by Corey Bush and Friends, Cheryl's Critters, Petting Zoo, pie eating contests held by the Chamber of Commerce, games, and much more. There will also be a raffle with over 30 community prizes donated by local businesses. This year's theme celebrates the Amenia NY Fire Companies. Firefighters will be displaying equipment and scrapbooks, as well as offering free blood pressure screenings throughout the day. There will also be volunteer sign-up for those interested in the opportunity.
So
And-
Victoria, on that, is that pie baking or pie eating? Because every other year it's been pie
Baking.
baking, but the article says it's pie eating.
Well, it's pie baking, and then they cut up the slices and sell
I
them
know.
for eating.
But
So
there's
it's-
no pie eating contest.
No, it's pie baking.
Thank you.
And also on September 28th, the Smithfield Presbyterian Church once again presents New York Philharmonic organist Kent Tritle, the principal New York City cellist Arthur Fiacco, for an afternoon of classical music to benefit the Oratorial Society of New York on Saturday, September 28th at 3:30. Tickets are $20 at the door.
Are the tickets available?
Yes, at the door.
Or they, yeah, they normally sell out, right?
I don't know, as far as I know, there still is. I don't know, I just saw it in the paper today. And the town of Amenia will be hosting defensive driving again from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. on October 29th and October 30th at Town Hall. The class will be taught by Stephen Williams, certified by the Empire Safety Council. Upon completion of the class, students are eligible for immediate 10% reduction in their collision and auto liability premium, which includes property damage, bodily injury, and personal injury protection. The discount will apply for 3 years. The class will also reduce up to 4 points on one's license if there have been violations during the past 18 months. The fee is $45. Enrollment is open to the public. If you pay early before the day of the class, the fee will be $40. The course is open to all drivers regardless of age or driving experience. For more information, call Stephen Williams at 518-203-1295 or email stephen@drivesmart.us to enroll. And now I'm done.
Okay. So I had the bookkeeper print up the most recent purchase order and supply requests so everybody can see what was purchased and what the status is of those requests, whether or not they were issued a purchase order, and start a conversation if there's an issue. Mike, you said you were going to have the reimbursement forms out to Ms. Houlihan and Mr. Patel by today. So how did that go?
Should I do my report now, or just answer that question?
If you could just answer the question, that one question, so I can get through the rest of my stuff and.
I'm finalizing the form for Mr. Patel. I didn't know that I said I would have it today. I'm working on it, getting it done as soon as I can. I should have it by Monday for the supervisor to sign. Mr. Patel's expenses were the bulk of the grant, so it's about $79,000 that I'm trying to get him reimbursed for. And Claire has about, I'm not sure, well, her total grant is $41,000, and I'm trying to get her reimbursement as well. I did get the form, downloaded the forms, and I've begun itemizing all of the expenses. So really, it's just a matter of getting the signatures at this point, and, I will have that completed.
Hers by Monday as well, or?
I'll do my best, yes.
Okay, super. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Is there,
That.
did we ever approve the minutes from July 11th?
No.
I think there were 3
Do you
days.
have more stuff?
I have more stuff though.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. The last thing is our PSA. The PSAs, which are recommended by the State Comptroller's Office, since we go out there and get the information, it's important that we share it with you. Today I thought we'd talk about the zero-day flaws. We've been hearing a lot about zero-day flaws because the new iPhones just came out, and with, I think it was, they came out Friday. By Saturday there was a hack for the fingerprint. So I thought we'd talk about what a zero-day virus is. A zero-day virus is, it comes from, it's the first day that a virus actually comes out. Antivirus software works on definitions, so when a file comes into your computer, it checks all the definitions that it has in its files and says, do any of these match any of the patterns in this new file that came in? If the patterns do match, then it says, hey, this must be a virus, and they quarantine it or delete it, however you've set your software up to do it. But if the patterns don't match, then the file can come into your system, be it an email attachment or on a web page. So a zero-day virus would be one where there's no definition in the antivirus software. So the file comes down onto your computer, there's no definition in the software to match it against, so your antivirus software says, hey, that's okay, it can come in, but surprise, it's a zero-day virus. This is day 0 of the attack, and your computer is compromised. So that's why sometimes your computer antivirus software doesn't know what's going to happen, and it allows an infected file onto your computer system. Which is why a lot of people use multiple copies or multiple vendors for their antivirus. Like they'll have something from Microsoft and something from Norton, and all those things will run against it instead of just having the one single antivirus software. Now, a zero-day attack is when a new piece of software or hardware comes out. And the developer's been working really hard on it, and they're very excited, and they bring it out to market, but at the same time, the hackers have been working really hard at it, trying to find the vulnerability. So on the very first day that it goes out onto market, that's the very first day that the hackers go and say, hey, you left me a nice open door to put some really nasty code into, or you've left a big security hole, which is what happened to Apple's iPhone with their fingerprint scan. It was able to be hacked, and that was a zero-day attack, made even more kind of computer humorous because it did happen within the first 24 hours. So that is our public service announcement on computer systems for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, I swear.
Okay.
Yeah, I just found some minutes from July 11th, 23rd, 25th, 30th, August 6th, and 13th that I don't believe we approved.
Are we ready to approve?
And I think we've had ample time to look at them.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve those minutes.
There's also August 20th, the Tuesday morning.
And also August 20th.
That's all.
Right.
Okay.
I made the motion, or, okay.
That's second.
Councilwoman Brody,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger,
I'm going to abstain. Those were mostly Tuesday meetings.
Councilwoman Doyle,
Yes.
Supervisor
Yes.
Flores.
And again, I was that vote that on the meeting that I wasn't at.
That was already
Okay.
printed. My version's already
Double
printed.
checking.
I was also going to mention that we're having a talent show on November 10th That would be Sunday, November 10th at 2 o'clock. And we'd love to have any range of talents. It can run the gamut. So if you have a particular talent, I'd encourage you to call me or Margie O'Brien. We're going to try and MC this show of talents. It could be drumming, it could be, what do you do, the knitting group, I don't know, juggling, could be anything. But if you let us know what your idea is, that would be good. My phone number is 845-489-7826, or Margie O'Brien, and I don't have that number in front of me. I think it's, I can't do that off my memory. So anyway, there's some posters here at Town Hall, and they'll be on the town website and on Channel 22. If you have some interest in talking to us personally, we'll have some time set up. There's a registration form on the back of the flyer and on the website. I think there was one other thing. Oh, I did go to the housing meeting that you started, Bill, chairing, and they need to hear back from us whether or not the town of Amenia would like to work with other towns, the towns of Northeast and Village of Millerton and Pine Plains in particular, and maybe even over the boundary in Connecticut, trying to pursue affordable housing options in Amenia and the Northeast. And there has been some success over in Connecticut that we can follow. There's a lot of technical assistance that's available to our towns. They're looking for elected officials to buy into this program. We've had a series of workshops, and Pace Law School put on a particular affordable housing workshop that I was unable to attend, but I think you did, Victoria and Bill, or?
I did not.
Nobody here did?
I did.
Okay, in Wasac, right?
Yeah.
So there is interest. We can continue on with this if the towns that are interested have an official who wants to participate in it. They're suggesting that we move on to a more formal structure, loosely patterned off of what we did in the past as part of the Harlem Valley Partnership that was brought town elected officials together for common good. And this common good this time would be for finding affordable housing in a regional, that addresses our regional issues here. I don't know if you want to go forward, but I was willing to respond to Sam Bucell, who's been heading this initiative up, along with the funding from the Dyson Foundation and from Hudson River Housing and Housing Us groups. But if there's a feeling that the rest of the town board wants us to try and move forward on that, I would, get back to Sam with that kind of suggestion that we do move forward. They're looking for a chair. They're looking for somebody to step up to the plate. And I know all of us right now at election time it's busy. End of year is very busy. So I don't know if we can put this off, but they have a co-chair. Rosemary Lyons, is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is willing to be a co-chair. We need another co-chair from our town or Millerton or Sharon. Is anybody
It's
interested?
actually a great program. That it's not just affordable housing, it's not just housing. Also, it's I think shared services. Also, at some point, that we're trying to morph into what we used to have as the Harlem Valley Planning Partnership, where all towns in the Harlem Valley work together to cooperatively. Mike was in charge of it for years to move a lot of stuff forward, and because it's not just things just don't affect one town. They affect the whole region.
Mm-hmm.
So there's issues like Millerton wants to buy some equipment. Does other towns have equipment that they can use or rent? Stuff like that, obviously as money gets tighter, the budgets are going to get much, much tighter as we move forward. To buy a piece of equipment today for some towns is out of the question. But if they can lease a roller or roller was brought up, a grader was brought up, and some other things. The town highways do work together pretty much, but they're looking at other things, other ways to plow snow and deal with other stuff that that the other towns are going to have to deal with it as we move forward in these economic times, which are going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. So I would suggest that the town do move forward with it. I think it's a great idea. It's a great.
Dawn, do you have the abstract?
I do.
So we need to make a motion to allow allow the supervisor to pay claims for that dollar amount.
Were you done, Vicki?
I got the sense from you all that you think it's a worthwhile effort to continue exploring the possibility of creating a group or coming up with a mission and seeing if we...
Sure, I'll make that motion
Wanna
that we
follow
move
that?
forward with it.
Okay. Guess I'd second it and hope that somebody steps forward besides me to attend these meetings.
What's the actual title? I mean, you're supporting some, what?
It'd
does-
be an affordable...
It's in something with the north. It's something northeast. It's the what was it? The community group
Was
of the
housing.
northeast.
Well, it was the Northeast Dutchess towns.
Correct. That's what it was. Something, and it's going. The name is going to
It's
change.
called Pooling Resources to Plan for the Future, I guess is what they...
But they've been
Northeastern
calling each
Dutchess
other housing us, right?
Can you give us a copy of that, Vicki?
Yeah,
I
but it's
can
not the
email it to
housing.
you.
It's something
That would be
different,
awesome.
right? Because they're not going to,
This is a collaborative effort of towns in the Northeast.
but not just housing.
Yeah,
For regional
Northeast.
planning.
yeah,
Okay.
Right.
I just make sure.
But the
it's
name is
clear
going to change
whatever
once
you're
they get
supporting.
together.
right.
Okay. Councilwoman Barodi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle? And
Yes.
Supervisor Fried?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna grab this a second.
Mike, do you have a report?
I have an updated grant.
Does any other town board members have any?
We have to agree to pay that.
Okay, thanks.
I'll be quick. I am focusing on the claims for the Main Street grant. All 4 projects are moving ahead. I did start working on the claims for Mr. Patel and Claire, as Gretchen had asked earlier. So I did update this spreadsheet, including the Freshtown sidewalk. On the kitchen grant, I met with Rudy Eschbach to further develop that. We called a vendor in Albany to kind of arrange the kitchen as it would be with the equipment. And Leo Blackman has agreed to do a professional drawing of it. I'm going to meet him Saturday, so I'm finalizing that proposal soon as well.
That's great.
So, yeah, it's been a pretty busy time trying to move the Main Street grant and focusing mainly on that. I am preparing the claim for both administration, for Claire Houlihan, and for Mr. Patel. And I've been in touch with Mr. Patel and
And you
with
submitted
Aaron
claims
Kinney.
for hazard mitigation also?
Yes, I'm going to be submitting a claim for that. We have to match, the town has a match requirement for that. And I'll be working with Stan to,
Because they're almost through.
as soon as I get the bills, as soon as the bills are paid and, I document all the expenses, I can prepare a claim for that.
Okay.
So probably like 3 weeks or so.
Pardon?
We're talking 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Do you have any?
For the hazard mitigation grant?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not too long to do these forms. It's really just a matter of the paying of the bills, getting the checks and stuff from the bookkeeper. Yeah, 4 weeks sounds like a reasonable.
All righty.
Okay.
That's it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Abstracts of audited vouchers for the period of 9/1 through 9/27. Grand total of all vouchers, $141,316.22. You've all signed the ones that were authorized to sign. I hereby certify that the vouchers listed on this abstract for this period, consisting of these attached pages, were ordered and allowed in the amounts shown. Authorization is hereby given and directions made to pay each of the claimants the amount opposite his name. I need an authorization to sign this.
Make a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay pay claims in the amount of, what is it, 141?
$316.22.
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Crotty?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Platt?
Yes. One other thing we have, you all received a letter from Ian about this, from the DEC regarding the Northwest Farms mine, formerly Muni Sand and Gravel, South Amenia Pit, which was purchased by the Northwest Farms mine. They have given it a neck deck. I think they're going to reclaim this. That's what they're doing, right?
What they're proposing to do is expanding a portion of the mine, and then they're going to remine a portion that's already been reclaimed. That was mined and reclaimed. I guess they're going to remine it, reopen it.
Okay.
So there's a 30-day period for the town to comment, and the cover letter from DEC outlines or lists the areas that you can comment on, the appropriate setbacks, the type of natural barriers, control of dust, hours of operation, and whether the mining is permitted under your zoning laws in that proposed location. And that's something that I assume will have to be investigated a little bit unless you know offhand whether, because they're
I think it is.
proposing
I'm
to
not sure.
expand not by a huge amount, but 3.5 acres. I'm assuming that this mine is in your soil mining overlay district, but something that should
Who
be
takes a look at
investigated.
this? The CAC? They take a look
I
at this?
think we can
Yeah.
take a look at it at the end of September,
Yeah.
if that's not too.
No, I'll check with DEC. The cover letter is dated September 11. My recollection is the 30-day period is not, it's not a hard deadline. So as
Does
long
this
as
have to
you
go to the planning board?
no, I mean, they only sent it to the town. I mean, you could refer to the planning board if you wanted to, but you're not required to.
Okay. The CAC take a look at it?
So, I mean, you have at least until October 11th. I'll check. My recollection from the prior applications is that it's, the 30 days is actually beyond the 30 days from the date of the letter. And I can always ask for additional time. They're usually, DEC is usually pretty good about that.
Well, I think the first thing is to find out whether or not it's in fact in our district or not.
Right.
And that we can find out from John Penn, right? He can take a look at the map and interpret it.
I can talk to John, and you can tell by looking, you should be able to tell by looking at the map, and
If it's in it or
So
not.
can you send that to me?
I can send it to him.
Yeah,
and I'll
send it to
follow up
John.
with him. Yeah.
Okay. Any other town board comments?
Yeah, if you have this in digital form, then I can send that on to the CAC.
I don't think we do.
This application, is that?
I emailed it to
Did you?
everybody,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it came this afternoon.
I don't know that the map may have been too big to include in the scanned copy that I sent. Oh, that answers that, that's, I can see what we can do.
Too large.
The
So
problem
I'll
is-
drop it off. I'll drop it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one other thing, Victoria, you asked me to follow up because your password wasn't prompting you for changing. So I did follow up with BAS. I CC'd you in case you didn't see it, and your password wasn't changing. So Tim went
I
back
know.
through, and
Yeah, missed me.
he says he's caught everyone this go around. So if folks who are affiliated with the system start getting password change prompts, that was a result of us doing a check on that today. And that's it, I promise.
Okay. We need to go into an executive session for a few minutes to discuss some personnel issues.
Good.
And I think we can do that, right, personnel?
What, to,
Personnel.
legal issues.
Or legal issues to
with-
discuss.
Sure.
Okay, legal issues. So we need to close the town meeting, or we just, how do we do this? I forget how we do
We
this.
Need to go into executive session.
Just make a
Make a
motion. to go into-
motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we go into executive session.
Second.